Hi, I'm Nathan. I go by Peteparker, and every week I do comic book reviews because that's the rule at my house. If I want to keep buying them, I have to review them online. So, this is going to be the review of Avengers vs. New Ultimates number 5. This is written by Mark Millar, or Miller, depending on what you say. And the layouts and some of the finishes are done by Lionel Yu, and the rest of them are done by Steven Segovia. So, let me give a little preface to this whole book. I specifically have not been reading this book because I do not like all the crazy Avengers teams going on and the crazy new Hulk and all the weird stuff and Blade being involved and all that stuff being involved on these teams. So I really have not been picking this up. The only reason I bought this week is because Spider-Man's dying. Ultimate Spider-Man is dying. And this is Death of Ultimate Spider-Man right up here. And guess what? This book has absolutely nothing to do with Spider-Man's death. And I'll do that review here in a few minutes. But so this review is going to be on this book, which has nothing to do with this, even though it's up there. So let's get into it. If you have or have not been following this, it's not that difficult to jump into. You kind of get a little backstory here where they find out who the original Hulk was and how he got his powers and how he's able to use them. And so they go back to his hideout and kill him, more or less. They being Nick Fury's team of Avengers. I don't know if they're... I think they're the new Ultimates. Maybe they're just Avengers. I don't know. Which is Blade and Punisher and Hawkeye and one other guy that I don't know who he is. Probably Giant Man. But anyway, they kill the original Hulk, and then the underground story that's happening behind the scenes here is Gregory Stark, Tony Stark's brother, who's in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now. Oh, brother. Is supplying superhumans to communist nations, the factions within those nations that want democracy, basically, to try to fight the political structure, the armies and the government, to make it a democracy, more or less. So he sends a bunch of giant men to China with Spider-Man. Let's see if I can find a picture. And Nick Fury and his guys are not really cool with that. So here's this. This is a really confusing picture here. There's some people talking in Chinese, and they're like, hey, what's that? And then this big face looks like it's coming out of garbage. But oh, wait, that's not garbage. Look how small that dude is. It's coming out of the ground. They're giant people coming out of the ground and running around, attacking the army. Sure, whatever. So that's basically what's happening, and it's happening in China. So the new Ultimates, or the Avengers, whatever team, Stephen Rogers, Captain America, the original Iron Man, and Thor are on. They're all at the Triskelon somewhere. And they're saying, should we jump in? These people are getting slaughtered or whatever. And Gregory Stark's like, no, it's cool. Don't worry about it. Just sit tight. And then at the same time, Nick Fury's team has been captured by Gregory Stark and is about to be put down or be put in jail or whatever. And they all, this is awesome, they all start hulking out like crazy. So they stole what's his name's Hulk serum and all became Hulks. Now, that aside, how cool that is aside, these guys look awfully small for being Hulks or taking Hulk serums. It turns out that original Hulk guy was really old, and he was the guy who taught Bruce Banner everything he knew about becoming that kind of super soldier or whatever. And he was gigantic, right? And these guys really aren't that big. So I was totally expecting more Hulk-like crazy features. But apparently this drug is totally designed to make them super strong and the perfect human athlete or whatever, but not really, Hulk completely. So they're kind of Hulks. You kind of get a Hawkeye Hulk and a Punisher Hulk and a Blade Hulk. And I think a Giant Man Hulk. But I don't know. They don't really show them all that much. And then in Iran, I guess, there's Captain Britain's over there, and he's reporting back about them needing to move the Triskelon. And basically Captain Rogers, or Captain America, doesn't know what to do because he can't really fight against the government of another country, but he can't exactly fight the people who he believes are right, which is the democracy people. Another cool aspect to the story, and this is a spoiler also, is that the clone Spider-Man that's only really been called Spider-Man here, I don't know if it's on purpose or what, but he really looks Chinese. We're living proof that the system doesn't work, that not all men are created equal. So he's probably talking about the fact that he has powers, but he pretty much looks like a Chinese guy, especially here. So, and then there was mention that he was grown for this specific task, which is kind of interesting. So maybe he'll be the new Spider-Man after Spider-Man dies, because there's going to be another Spider-Man. Maybe this grown Spider-Man that was on this team or whatever will be the new Spider-Man. So then, eventually the Captain America Avengers or whatever show up, and they're ready to fight everybody in China and stop this from happening or whatever. And they're like, how'd you find out about this? And then the Hulk's guys went and got him, pretty much. That's the story of this book. What did I think about this? Now, I said at the beginning I picked this up without reading it ever before. Not ever, but after they changed teams a lot and introduced all these crazy new characters. And I skimmed it a couple of times, like when Spider-Man got shot on the bridge a couple weeks ago. So this was kind of interesting, but and it had some interesting aspects, like some, a pill that you take and you become Hulk. That's kind of cool, or Hulkish, I guess. But I used to really like Leinil Yu's artwork in general, but I find a lot of times the darkness in a lot of pages, so, half his face is blacked out, and even in their eyes and stuff, there's a lot of flat black panels, or parts of panels, that really throws me off. Makes me feel like there's not a lot of detail there, or that it looks weird, you know what I mean? Look at all the darkness in this guy. I mean, the lighting is right? Because it's coming from above and you're looking up or whatever, and everything's okay about it. I just think it doesn't look great in the end. And more often than not with this guy, you get these eyes that are basically closed black holes in their face, more or less. I mean, it's not all the time, but a lot of time. Especially on big sheets like that. Sometimes the eyeballs are just missing, like in Captain America's. But you got some awesome art in here, like some awesome splash pages, I should say. Not necessarily art. The story was okay. I was really mad that this didn't have anything to do with Spider-Man dying, except for maybe the Spider-Man clone turning out to be a Chinese kid or whatever. But still. Maybe he's just Asian, but they said that he was specifically grown for this task of putting him in leading the charge in China. So, I don't know. I would assume that he's Chinese based on that. So there you go. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. I didn't love it, but it's good. If you've been following this, you probably really like this issue. I probably won't pick up the next one because I wasn't interested in it before this, and I'm not interested in it now because it doesn't have anything to do with the death of Spider-Man, more or less. And I kind of feel shafted about that a little bit, but, that's what you get. I wanted to try out a new book anyway, so there you go. New Ultimates versus Avengers, Avengers versus New Ultimates number 5, 3 out of 5. There you go. Thanks for paying attention and listening to my reviews. If you want to check out the rest of my reviews, it's under SPIDY207 on YouTube, or Peteparker elsewhere, like Comic Vine and iFanboy and Marvel and DC databases. So there you go. Until the next time, I'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening.